Rosa Martinez was running on fumes. Her body had stopped sending signals of exhaustion hours ago and had moved straight into numb autopilot mode. 3 jobs. That was her reality now. Morning shift at the diner, afternoon shift at the grocery, store and night shift cleaning the offices at Hayes Corporation. Sleep had become a luxury she could no longer afford, not with her mother's medical bills piling up and her younger brother's college tuition due next month. The clock on the wall read 2:47 in the morning as Rosa pushed her cleaning cart down. The empty hallway of the executive floor. Most nights she loved this shift. The silence, the peace, the way the city lights sparkled through the floor-to-ceiling windows. But tonight, every step felt like walking through mud. Her legs were heavy, her eyes burned, and her head throbbed with a dull ache that refused to go away. The executive floor was always her last stop. Fewer offices, bigger spaces, and nobody around to complain about the smell of cleaning products. Rosa had memorized the routine perfectly. Start with the conference room, move through the executive offices, and finish with the CEO's private suite. Benjamin Hayes rarely stayed late, and according to the security guard, he was traveling this week, which meant Rosa could take her time. She unlocked the door to his office and stepped inside. The space was enormous, easily 3 times the size of her entire apartment. Dark wood furniture, leather chairs, and a massive desk that probably cost more than she made in a year. Rosa had cleaned this office dozens of times, but she still felt like an intruder every time she entered. She started with the bookshelves, dusting each leather-bound volume carefully. Then she moved to the windows, wiping away fingerprints and smudges until the glass sparkled. The desk came next, and she organized the scattered papers into neat piles, being careful not to look at anything confidential. Finally, she headed toward the private bathroom attached to the office. The bathroom was ridiculous. Marble floors, a rainfall shower, and a toilet that probably had more technology than her phone. Rosa filled her bucket with warm water and cleaning. Solution, then got to work on the mirror. Her reflection stared back at her and she barely recognized herself. Dark circles under her eyes, hair falling out of her ponytail, uniform wrinkled from the long night. She scrubbed the sink, polished the fixtures, and cleaned the shower until everything gleamed. Then she moved to the toilet, kneeling down to reach the base. Her vision blurred for a moment. She blinked hard, trying to focus. "Just finish this one thing," she told herself. "Then you can go home." Rosa leaned against the cool marble wall for just a second, telling herself she needed to catch her breath. The bathroom was so quiet, so peaceful. The hum of the ventilation system was almost soothing. She closed her eyes, just for 1 second, just to rest them, and then she was gone. Benjamin Hayes was not having a good night. His flight had been delayed, the hotel had lost his reservation, and he had spent the last 3 hours in a cramped middle seat next to a man who snored like a chainsaw. All he wanted was to get back to his office, grab the documents he forgot, and go home to his actual bed. He unlocked his office door at 4:15 in the morning, not expecting to find anyone there. The cleaning staff usually finished by 3 was at the latest. He tossed his briefcase on the desk and headed straight for the bathroom, already loosening his tie. He pushed open the door without thinking and froze. There, sitting on the closed toilet, lid with her head resting against the wall, was a woman in a cleaning uniform, fast asleep. Benjamin stood there for a solid 10 seconds, his brain trying to process what he was seeing. Was this real? Was he hallucinating from exhaustion? He blinked. She was still there, still sleeping, still very much real. He cleared his throat. Nothing. He tried again, louder. Still nothing. The woman was completely out, breathing deeply, her face peaceful despite the awkward position. Benjamin stepped closer, genuinely concerned now. Was she okay? Was she sick? He gently touched her shoulder. "Excuse me, miss?" Rosa jolted awake with a gasp, her eyes flying open. For a moment, she had no idea where she was. Then reality crashed down on her like a bucket of ice water. She was in the CEO's bathroom. The CEO who was supposed to be traveling. The CEO who was standing right in front of her with his hand on her shoulder. She scrambled to her feet so fast. She nearly knocked over her cleaning bucket. "Oh no, oh no, no, no. Sir, I am so sorry. I was just cleaning and I sat down for 1 second and I must have fallen asleep," Benjamin finished, stepping back to give her space. He studied her face, noting the exhaustion written in every line, the panic in her eyes. "How long have you been working tonight?" Rosa's mouth opened and closed. "I don't know what time I started here. Maybe midnight? But I had other jobs before." She stopped herself. Too much information. "I mean, I'm so sorry. This will never happen again. Please don't fire me. I need this job." Benjamin held up a hand. "I'm not going to fire you." Rosa stared at him. "You're not?" "No." He crossed his arms, still watching her carefully. "But I do have some questions. Starting with, do you always work multiple jobs?" "I have to," Rosa said before she could stop herself. "My mother needs medication, my brother is in college, and the bills don't pay themselves." She immediately regretted the words. Why was she telling him this? "I'm sorry. You don't need to hear about my problems. I'll just finish cleaning and—" "Stop apologizing," Benjamin interrupted. He walked past her, looking around the bathroom with fresh eyes. "You cleaned this?" "Yes, sir." He ran his finger along the edge of the sink. Spotless. He checked the mirror. Gleaming. He turned back to her with an expression she couldn't read. "When was the last time you ate?" The question caught her off guard. "I had some crackers around 6 May. That was 10 hours ago. Benjamin walked back into his office, and Rosa followed hesitantly, not sure if she was supposed to leave or stay. He opened a small refrigerator hidden in his bookshelf and pulled out a sandwich. "Eat this." Rosa shook her head. "I can't take your food. You just fell asleep in my bathroom from exhaustion. Eat the sandwich." She took it with shaking hands, too hungry to argue anymore. As she unwrapped it, Benjamin studied his office with the same careful attention he had given the bathroom. That was when he noticed something. "You organize my desk," he said. Rosa froze mid-bite. "I'm sorry. I shouldn't have touched your papers. I just thought—" "You sorted them by urgency level," Benjamin continued, walking over to examine the neat piles. "Financial reports here, contracts here, correspondence here. How did you know which was which?" "The dates on the documents," Rosa said quietly. "And the letterheads. I just assumed the ones from lawyers were more urgent than the general memos." Benjamin picked up the top document from each pile. She was right. Completely, perfectly right. He looked at her with new interest. "You did this in the dark?" The desk lamp was on. "And you read all of these?" "No, sir. I just glanced at them to organize them properly. I didn't read any confidential information." Rosa set down the half-eaten sandwich. "I should go. I'm sure you have work to do." "Actually," Benjamin said slowly, an idea forming in his mind, "I think I might have a proposition for you." Rosa's heart sank. This was it. This was where he fired her in some fancy corporate way that made it sound like an opportunity. "A proposition?" "Tell me something," Benjamin said, leaning against his desk. "If you had to guess, based on what you saw on my desk, what would you say is my biggest problem right now?" Rosa hesitated. This felt like a trap. But something in his expression told her he was genuinely curious. She thought about the documents she had organized, the ones she couldn't help but notice. "You're losing money in your manufacturing division. The reports show a 15% decrease in efficiency over the last quarter. And based on the number of lawyer letters, someone is probably threatening a lawsuit." Benjamin's eyebrows rose. "You got all that from organizing my desk?" "I might have read a little more than I admitted," Rosa said, her cheeks flushing. "But only the summaries, I swear." For the first time that night, Benjamin smiled. "Miss, what's your name?" "Rosa Martinez." "Miss Martinez, how would you like a different job?" Rosa's heart skipped. "Doing what?" "Helping me figure out what's actually going wrong in my company. Because if you can diagnose my problems in 5 minutes of organizing my desk, I want to know what else you can see that I'm missing." Rosa stared at him. This had to be a joke. "Sir, I'm a janitor. I clean toilets. I don't know anything about running a business. You knew enough to prioritize my documents correctly. You knew enough to spot the manufacturing problem. And you're observant enough to notice details that everyone else misses." Benjamin straightened. "I'm not offering you a permanent position, just a trial period. 1 week. You come in during normal business hours, observe my operations, and tell me what you see. If it works out, we'll discuss something more formal. If it doesn't, you go back to your regular job. No harm done. And if I say no, then you finish your shift and nothing changes." "But Rosa," he said, and something in his tone made her meet his eyes. "When was the last time someone gave you a chance?" The words hit her harder than she expected. Never, she realized. Nobody had ever given her a chance. Every job she had was the result of desperate persistence, not opportunity. And here was the CEO of one of the biggest companies in the city, offering her something that seemed impossible. "Okay," she heard herself say. 1 week. Benjamin nodded, satisfied. "Good. Come back Monday morning at 8. Wear something professional. And Rosa, get some sleep this weekend. You're going to need it." As Rosa left his office that morning, her cleaning cart abandoned in the hallway, she had no idea that accepting his offer would change everything. Not just her job, but her entire life. And somewhere on the other side of the city, Victoria Chen, Benjamin's biggest business rival, was making plans of her own. Plans that would put Rosa directly in the crosshairs of a corporate war she didn't even know existed. Rosa spent the entire weekend in a state of disbelief. She kept replaying that early morning conversation in her mind, wondering if she had imagined the whole thing. A CEO offering her a job based on how she organized his desk? It sounded like something from a movie, not real life. Sunday night, she stood in front of her tiny closet, staring at the handful of clothes she owned. Professional attire. Benjamin had said to wear something professional. The problem was, her wardrobe consisted of work uniforms, old jeans, and a few t-shirts. The only remotely professional thing she owned was a black skirt and white blouse she had bought for her brother's high school graduation 3 years ago. It would have to do. Monday morning arrived with Rosa's stomach tied in knots. She arrived at Hayes Corporation at 7:45, 15 minutes early, and stood outside the building trying to calm her racing heart. The place looked different in daylight, filled with sharply dressed people carrying briefcases and coffee cups, all walking with purpose and confidence. Rosa suddenly felt like an imposter wearing a costume. She took a deep breath and walked through the revolving doors. The security guard at the front desk looked up with surprise. "Rosa, what are you doing here during the day?" "I have an appointment with Mr. Hayes," she said, the words feeling strange in her mouth. The guard's eyebrows shot up, but he checked his computer and nodded. "Go on up, 32nd floor." The elevator ride felt like it took forever. When the doors finally opened, Rosa stepped into a world of glass walls, modern furniture, and people who all looked like they belonged in a magazine. A woman in a designer suit walked past, barely glancing at Rosa, speaking rapidly into her phone about quarterly projections. Rosa found the reception desk where a young woman with perfect makeup greeted her with a polite but distant smile. "Can I help you?" "I'm here to see Mr. Hayes. My name is Rosa Martinez." The receptionist's smile became slightly more genuine. "Oh, yes, he mentioned you'd be coming. Let me let him know you're here." She picked up the phone, spoke quietly, then hung up. "He'll be right out." Rosa waited, feeling more out of place by the second. Other employees passed by, all of them looking confident and professional. She caught a few curious glances, probably wondering who she was and why she was dressed, in clothes that were clearly not expensive. "Rosa." Benjamin's voice cut through her anxious thoughts. He appeared from a hallway, wearing a perfectly tailored navy suit that probably cost more than her monthly rent. But his expression was warm, almost relieved. "You came? You thought I wouldn't? I thought you might come to your senses," he admitted with a slight smile. "Come on, let me show you around." He led her through the office, pointing out different departments: marketing, sales, finance, operations. Each area was filled with people working at computers, having meetings, making phone calls. Rosa tried to absorb everything, but it was overwhelming. They ended up in a conference room with glass walls overlooking the city. Benjamin gestured to a chair. "Sit. I want to explain what I'm actually asking you to do." Rosa sat down carefully, her hands folded in her lap. "I've been running this company for 5 years," Benjamin began, leaning against the table. "And in that time, I've hired consultants, analysts, and advisors who all tell me the same things. But our problems keep getting worse. Manufacturing is down, employee satisfaction is low, and we're losing clients to our competitors." He paused. "The other night, you spotted issues in 5 minutes that my entire executive team has been missing for months. So here's what I want. I want you to observe, watch how things work, talk to people, and tell me what you see. No corporate jargon, no sugarcoating. Just honest observations." "You want me to spy on your employees?" Rosa asked, uncomfortable with the idea. "I want you to see what I can't see because I'm too close to it," Benjamin corrected. "Think of yourself as fresh eyes, someone who notices the details everyone else overlooks." Before Rosa could respond, there was a sharp knock on the glass door. A woman in her 40s, wearing an expensive burgundy dress and carrying herself like she owned the building, stepped inside without waiting for an invitation. "Benjamin, darling, we need to talk about the Meridian contract. They're threatening to pull out if we don't—" She stopped mid-sentence, her eyes landing on Rosa. "Oh, I didn't realize you had company." "Victoria, this is Rosa Martinez. She'll be consulting for us this week," Benjamin said smoothly. "Rosa, this is Victoria Chen. She runs Chen Industries, our biggest competitor." Rosa's confusion must have shown on her face because Victoria laughed, a sound like breaking ice. "Surprised? Benjamin and I have known each other for years. We're rivals in business, friends everywhere else. Isn't that right, Benjamin?" "Something like that," Benjamin replied, his tone neutral. Victoria's sharp eyes studied Rosa from head to toe, missing nothing. The outdated clothes, the nervous posture, the hands that showed signs of hard manual labor. Her smile turned into something that wasn't quite friendly. "A consultant? How interesting. What firm are you with, Rosa?" "I'm independent," Rosa said, lifting her chin slightly. "I see." Victoria's tone suggested she saw far more than Rosa wanted her to. "Well, I won't interrupt your meeting. Benjamin, we'll talk later." She swept out of the room, leaving a cloud of expensive perfume in her wake. Rosa turned to Benjamin. "She's your competitor and she just walks into your meetings?" "Victoria and I have a complicated relationship," Benjamin said carefully. "We compete in business, but we're also on several boards together. We maintain a professional friendship." She looked at me like I was dirt on her shoe. "Victoria looks at everyone like that. Don't take it personally." But something in Benjamin's expression told Rosa there was more to the story. The rest of the morning was a whirlwind. Benjamin introduced Rosa to various department heads, each one looking increasingly confused about who she was and why she was there. She could see the questions in their eyes, the judgment in their polite smiles. Who was this woman in the cheap clothes asking questions about their work? At lunch, Benjamin took her to the company cafeteria. The food was surprisingly good, and Rosa found herself relaxing slightly as they sat at a quiet corner table. She told him about her observations so far. The marketing team seemed disconnected from what customers actually wanted. The sales department had goals that contradicted each other. The manufacturing floor, which she had glimpsed through a window, looked disorganized and inefficient. Benjamin listened to everything, taking notes, asking follow-up questions. He didn't dismiss her observations or make her feel stupid for not knowing industry terminology. He just listened. "You have good instincts," he said when she finished. "Better than most people I've hired with business degrees." Rosa felt heat rise to her cheeks. "I just noticed things." That's a valuable skill. Benjamin's phone buzzed. He glanced at it and frowned. "I have a board meeting in 10 minutes. Are you okay to explore on your own this afternoon? Talk to people. Observe processes. We'll debrief at the end of the day." "Sure," Rosa said, trying to sound more confident than she felt. As Benjamin left, Rosa sat alone in the cafeteria, watching employees come and go. That was when she noticed something interesting. There was a clear divide in where people sat. The executives clustered in one area, the mid-level managers in another, and the regular employees in a third section. They didn't mix, didn't talk across groups. It was like the company had invisible walls between departments. She spent the afternoon wandering the floors, observing, asking questions. Most people were polite but distant. A few were openly suspicious. But some, particularly the lower-level employees, opened up when they realized she was genuinely listening. A young woman in accounting told her about a software system that crashed constantly, but management refused to replace it. A warehouse worker explained how the inventory system was so confusing that they wasted hours every day just trying to locate items. A customer service representative showed her complaint logs that never seemed to reach upper management. By 5:00, Rosa's head was spinning with information. She returned to Benjamin's office to find him on the phone, his expression tense. He waved her in and wrapped up the call quickly. "How was your first day?" he asked. Rosa pulled out the notebook he had given her that morning, now filled with scribbled observations. "I think I found your biggest problem." Benjamin leaned forward. "Tell me." "Your company is broken into pieces and none of the pieces talk to each other. The people on the ground floor know what's wrong, but the information never reaches the people who can fix it. It's like you have a body where the feet are trying to tell the brain something's wrong, but the message gets lost somewhere in between." Benjamin stared at her for a long moment. Then he let out a breath that sounded almost like relief. "That's exactly it. I've been trying to figure out how to describe this problem for months, and you just said it perfectly." "So what do we do about it?" Rosa asked. "We?" Benjamin smiled. "I like that you said we." He stood up and walked to the window looking out at the city. "We start fixing the communication channels, but first I need to know if you're willing to stay longer than a week, because Rosa, I think you might be exactly what this company needs." Rosa opened her mouth to respond when Benjamin's phone rang again. He glanced at the screen and his expression darkened. "It's Victoria. I need to take this," he answered. "Victoria, what can I do for you?" His face grew more serious as he listened. "When did this happen? And you're sure?" "I see. Thank you for the heads up." He hung up and turned to Rosa, his expression grave. "We have a problem. Someone leaked confidential information about our new product launch to our competitors. Victoria just called to give me a warning before it goes public. She claims she had nothing to do with it, but the leak happened today. Your first day here." Rosa felt her blood run cold. "You think I did it?" "No," Benjamin said firmly. "But other people might. And Victoria just made sure I'd be thinking about the timing." He ran a hand through his hair, looking tired. "This is going to get complicated, Rosa. Are you sure you want to be part of this?" Rosa thought about walking away, going back to her safe, simple life of cleaning toilets and staying invisible. But then she thought about how it felt to be listened to have her observations valued, to be given a chance. She thought about the employees who had shared their frustrations with her, hoping someone might finally hear them. "I'm sure," she said. "Let's figure out who really leaked the information." Benjamin's expression softened into something that looked almost like admiration. "Okay, then. Tomorrow we start digging. But Rosa, be careful. Corporate espionage isn't just about business. People's careers and reputations are on the line, including yours." As Rosa left the building that evening, she didn't notice the figure watching her from across the street. Victoria Chen stood beside her car, phone in hand, a satisfied smile on her face. She had just planted the first seed of doubt. Now all she had to do was watch it grow. The next 2 weeks were unlike anything Rosa had ever experienced. Benjamin assigned her a small office, gave her access to company files, and asked her to investigate the leak while continuing to identify operational problems. Rosa worked harder than she ever had in her life. But this time it was different. She wasn't just surviving. She was actually using her mind. She discovered that the leak had come from the marketing department, specifically from a junior employee who had been bribed by a competitor. Not Victoria, as it turned out, but a smaller company desperate for an edge. When Rosa presented her findings to Benjamin, complete with email trails and financial records, he looked at her with an expression she couldn't quite read. "You could have been a detective," he said. "I was supposed to be a lot of things," Rosa replied quietly. That conversation stayed with Benjamin. He started asking Rosa questions about her life, her past, her dreams. She deflected most of them, not ready to open up completely. But piece by piece, he learned about the girl who had been accepted to business school on a full scholarship, only to have her father die suddenly, leaving the family in debt. He learned about how she had dropped out after one semester to support her mother and brother. He learned about the dreams she had buried so deep she almost forgot they existed. Meanwhile, Victoria was watching everything with increasing irritation. She had expected Rosa to fail spectacularly, to be exposed as a fraud and sent back to mopping floors. Instead, the woman was thriving. Benjamin talked about her constantly, implemented her suggestions, and worst of all, looked at her with an expression Victoria recognized all too well. Benjamin Hayes was falling in love. Victoria had been trying to win Benjamin's attention for years. They moved in the same social circles, attended the same charity galas, served on the same boards. She had positioned herself as the perfect match for him. Wealthy, sophisticated, educated, connected. Everything a man in his position should want. And now he was looking at a cleaning lady like she hung the moon. It was unacceptable. Victoria began planning her counterattack. It came in the form of the annual industry summit, a massive event where all the major players in their field gathered to present innovations, network, and compete for prestige. Benjamin was scheduled to give the keynote presentation about Hayes Corporation's new direction. 3 days before the summit, Victoria made her move. She leaked false information to several board members, suggesting that Rosa had been feeding company secrets to competitors in exchange for money. The rumors were carefully crafted, just plausible enough to cause doubt. Rosa heard the whispers in the hallways. She saw the suspicious looks, the way people stopped talking when she walked by. When she confronted Benjamin about it, he was furious, but not at her. "I know you didn't do anything wrong," he said, pacing his office. "But I can't stop people from talking. The board is pressuring me to let you go before the summit. They think having you there will damage our reputation." "Then let me go," Rosa said, her voice steadier than she felt. "I don't want to cause problems. For you." Benjamin stopped pacing and looked at her directly. "That's not what I want." "What do you want?" The question hung in the air between them. Benjamin opened his mouth, then closed it, shaking his head. "Come to the summit. Ignore the rumors. I'll handle the board. The annual industry summit was held in the city's most prestigious hotel. Rosa felt completely out of place among the designer gowns and expensive suits. She had borrowed a simple black dress from a friend, and while it was appropriate, it was nowhere near the level of luxury surrounding her. Benjamin found her standing alone near the bar, looking uncomfortable. He was wearing a tuxedo that made him look like he belonged on a movie screen. "You came," he said, relief evident in his voice. "I told you I would." "Dance with me." Rosa blinked. "What? Before I have to go on stage and pretend to care about market projections, dance with me." He held out his hand. Rosa took it, and he led her to the dance floor. As they moved together, she became aware of the stares, the whispers, the judgment. But Benjamin seemed oblivious to all of it, his attention focused entirely on her. "I need to tell you something," he said quietly. "About Victoria. You don't need to explain your relationship with her." "Yes, I do. Because there is no relationship. She wants there to be one, but I've never felt that way about her. She's ambitious and ruthless, and I respect that in business. But that's all it is." "Benjamin, let me finish. These past few weeks with you have been different. You see things clearly, without ego or agenda. You challenge me, question me, make me want to be better. And somewhere along the way, I stopped thinking about you as just a consultant." Rosa's heart was pounding. "What are you saying?" Before he could answer, there was a commotion near the stage. Victoria was standing at the microphone, her expression triumphant. "Ladies and gentlemen, before we begin tonight's presentations, I think there's something everyone should know about Hayes Corporation's new consultant." Rosa felt the room's attention shift to her. Benjamin's hand tightened on hers. Victoria continued, her voice carrying across the ballroom. "Rosa Martinez has been telling people she's a business consultant. What she hasn't mentioned is that 3 weeks ago she was a janitor. She has no degree, no credentials, no experience. And yet Benjamin Hayes has given her access to confidential company information. One has to wonder what exactly she's offering in exchange." The implication was clear and cruel. Rosa felt her face burn with humiliation. She started to pull away from Benjamin, ready to flee, but he held her hand firmly. "Don't run," he whispered. "Fight back." Rosa looked at him, saw the absolute confidence in his eyes, and made a decision. She walked toward the stage, her legs shaking, but her head held high. Victoria's triumphant smile faltered as Rosa climbed the steps. Rosa took the microphone. "Everything Victoria said is true. 3 weeks ago, I was cleaning toilets in Benjamin's office. I don't have a business degree. I dropped out of school to support my family when my father died. I worked 3 jobs just to survive." She paused, looking around at the sea of faces. But here's what Victoria didn't mention. "In those 3 weeks, I identified and solved a major leak in Hayes Corporation. I discovered operational inefficiencies that were costing the company millions. I did this not because I had fancy credentials, but because I paid attention. I listened to the people everyone else ignored, the warehouse workers, the customer service representatives, the entry-level employees who actually know what's going wrong." She turned to look at Victoria. "You wanted to humiliate me by exposing my background. But I'm not ashamed of where I came from. I'm proud of it. Because it taught me something that all your expensive education never did. It taught me that real value isn't about status or connections. It's about being willing to see the truth even when it's uncomfortable." The room was completely silent. Rosa handed the microphone back to a stunned Victoria and walked off the stage. She didn't know if she had helped or hurt Benjamin's reputation. She didn't know if she still had a job. She just knew she had told the truth. Benjamin met her at the bottom of the steps. Without a word, he took her hand and led her out of the ballroom, away from the crowd, to a quiet balcony overlooking the city. "That was incredible," he said. "I probably just destroyed your company's reputation. You defended yourself with grace and honesty. That's not destruction. That's integrity." He turned her to face him. "Rosa, I need to tell you something, and I can't wait anymore. These past weeks have shown me what I've been missing in my life. Someone real, someone honest, someone who sees me, not just my company or my money or my status. I'm falling in love with you." Rosa's breath caught. "Benjamin, I'm not from your world. Tonight proved that. I don't care about worlds or social classes or what people think. I care about you. The question is, do you feel the same way?" Rosa thought about everything that had happened. The exhaustion, the fear, the challenges, but also the growth, the confidence, the feeling of being valued for who she truly was. She thought about how Benjamin looked at her, not with pity or condescension, but with respect and admiration. "Yes," she whispered, "I feel the same way." Benjamin smiled, and in that moment, nothing else mattered. Not Victoria's schemes, not the whispers of high society, not the difference in their backgrounds. He pulled her close and kissed her, and Rosa felt like she was finally home. 2 months later, Rosa officially joined Hayes Corporation as Director of Operations. She implemented changes that improved efficiency by 30% and employee satisfaction by even more. She finished her business degree through night classes, not because she needed it to prove herself, but because she wanted it for herself. Victoria eventually moved on to other schemes, other targets. She never apologized, but she did send Rosa a grudging note of congratulation when Rosa was featured in a business magazine as one of the industry's rising stars. And Benjamin, he continued running his company with Rosa by his side, both in business and in life. They faced challenges, overcame obstacles, and built something real together. Because sometimes, the most extraordinary love stories begin in the most unexpected places. Even in a CEO's bathroom at 2:47 in the morning, when an exhausted cleaning lady falls asleep and wakes up to find her entire life changed. The end.